My name's Eric. I'm talking with friends people. You know who I really like a lot? I mean, I just like him as a person. I don't necessarily watch all his media, all of his uploads, although I watch some of them, but I really, really like the another majestic INFJ. He does a fantastic job. Everybody should watch him. I was just watching a replay of a live stream he made in which he was he gave a great example of how if you don't understand typology, you're going to pathologize various things. However, I do want to stress while I love the expression, there's nothing wrong with you, and it conveys a lot of information, right? Like the idea conveyed by that statement is um, yes, everybody's pushed their arbitrary or their projections onto you, their norms. They've said, well, I'm not I'm not a logical person, so therefore what's wrong with you is too much black and white thinking. Or I am a logical person, so what's wrong with you is too much subjectivity. That kind of there's nothing wrong with you is correct. But there is something wrong with some people. So while cognitive functions will solve identity sports highlights, while cognitive functions will solve for all of those kind of mindless projections. All of those kind of mindless projections. It is also the case that it won't solve for dark triad shit. If you're a narcissist or uh, BPD, I mean BPD is not dark triad, but narcissist, antisocial, etc., then hi Matarazzi sound. One like my hello brew, Eric. Thanks for the like, I appreciate it. I noticed something this morning when I was start live streaming. It no longer has in the advanced settings a thing to choose between horizontal and vertical live streaming that it's had. It was defaulting to vertical live streaming. Now it seems like I'm not sure what it's doing. I'm not sure if it's rendering all live streams for verticality, regardless of what direction you put it in. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Over time, I could do a little research to see if what's going on with that. Um, so I got a good night's sleep last night. I'm feeling quite rested this morning after starting to feel pretty tore up from just too little sleep since I got the bottle of Adderall. I didn't stream at all yesterday, and it was kind of nice. It felt like um, I needed the break. And I don't plan on streaming for a super long time today, although one never knows for sure. Frenzy, good morning, good day, and how are you? My name's Eric. Welcome to Talking with Famous People, the internet's only YouTube channel. That's right. You found it. You found the one YouTube channel that exists on the internet. When people first started this website, I thought, I bet a lot of people will make YouTube channels. It turns out it was just me, and it's still just me. I'm the only person who decided to make one. Me and another majestic INFJ. So I'm gonna link actually to his channel so that people can go check it out if they want to. Like, I'll link to this video. I'll link to his channel. The video that I just watched and was commented on was called "There's Nothing Wrong with You." I am pleased to say that this gentleman has gleaned a lot of what he understands about cognitive functions from watching defensible typology stuff. Brandon21 says, I'm losing my hair a little bit, more than a little bit, I'd say. I am 53 years old, so that's to be expected. You know, I don't worry about stuff like that. Physicalities aren't of particular interest to me, you know. If I cared a lot about physicalities, oh yeah, I'm about to pull my first bowl today, actually. This is one thing I often these days will do is I'll get up and I'll putter around the house a bit in the morning, go to the bathroom, etc. Maybe even watch a cartoon or two, but I don't actually pull my first bowls until I start live streaming sometimes, as is the case today. So this is the celebratory first bowl of the day, first bomber of the day. And if you know anything about pulling bong rips, you know that you want to kind of ease your lungs into it first thing in the morning. So your first bong rip should be on the smaller side. Okay, little advice for us all. Slenderman, cheers. Cheers to you, my friend. That's as refreshing as a summer rain. That's refreshing as a tall glass of pineapple juice on a cold Christmas morning. All right, now let's pull our second bong rip of the day. What do you know happens after you pull your first bong rip? Well, one thing you know is that that's when it becomes time to pull your second bong rip of the day. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I don't anticipate streaming for an especially long time today. I will concede that in the few months there where they were really promoting the vertical live streaming, and I was getting a lot of new faces around here, a lot of engagement with people in the chat that I hadn't seen before, etc. I found it exciting, and I wanted to push hard to see if I could maximize those growth numbers or something. But now that experience is falling way off. I'm not seeing any kind of traffic like I was for a little while there. Hello, Julian Estrada. No Rat Tang Fun Full Wat, not like a warm golden shower. How old was I when my beard started growing fully? Mid to late 20s. You know, it was pretty thin before that. But I do get that there are a lot of people in the world who place a lot of emphasis on physicalities. Because of my personality type, I am very non-physical. I'm very much about words, symbols, meanings. Well, Anthony, I don't know what kind of weed this is. It's what I call freezer weed. This weed fell into our lap without us knowing what strain it was. And we've had it for a long ass time. We had like pounds of it. So and literally just like fell into our laps. Basically fell off the back of a truck, you know. It was you're growing Jelly Roll and Girl Scout cookies. I'm growing um Northern Lights, Jack Herrera, Gorilla Glue #4, Cherry Pie, and Super Skunk. Well, I planted all those strains, including, yeah, I'm in California, including 2 of one of them. But one of the seeds didn't sprout. So I'm not sure. Well, I have 5 plants. I planted 6 seeds. Okay, so one seed didn't sprout. And so I'm not sure which seed it was that didn't sprout. I didn't make a note of which seed was which. Okay, well, what happened with the weed that I have in the freezer that we call freezer weed is when we were selling our house in LA, um, we weren't living in there. We were living nearby in a hotel because we couldn't live there inside the house while they were selling because it was staged. You know, the realtor brought somebody in to stage the whole house with like fake furniture and stuff, right? And um, so we weren't living there, and I didn't put a change of address form to our new house until the day we moved. I didn't know it was going to take the post office 2 weeks to make that go, you know, that change of address go. So I told the realtor, please collect all of our mail um, because our mail may still keep coming here for a while. I just put the change of address in. Well, months later, Delilah, my daughter, went and picked up the mail from the realtor's office, and which included some packages. Anyway, 5 of these packages had our return address on it, but not our name on it. It wasn't the name of the people who had bought the house, and we didn't know what it was. And they all said on them, insufficient postage, returned to sender, you know? And they were all pounds of weed. So when I tell you it just fell into our lap, I mean, it just fell into our lap. After it was all vacuum sealed pounds of weed. We had 4 of the packages, I think, that were had been sent by somebody else to some third party, but it put our house that was for sale um, as their return address, figuring they could pick the packages up from the steps of the house that was being sold, presumably, should they be returned. However, before they could check the house's steps, my realtor had picked up the packages. How crazy is that? So anyway, we still have a decent amount of that weed left. We've been smoking on it for over a year now. Sure, we could do a poll. What do you want to poll? Natasha Godfrey Ashford. You might call yourself Natasha CG. But I bet you're Natasha Godfrey Ashford. English or Spanish? Um, that's a silly poll. How about this? Is there something wrong with you? That's a good question. Get freaky on stream. She's freaky. She's a little freak. Everyone's gonna say yes. I mean, that's how horrible it is, right? That's how horrible life is. I would be surprised if anybody answers this poll no. My 11th toe is my first thumb. Unless you're talking about my crotch dangle. No, they didn't send it to someone else's house. They mailed it cross country, right? But instead of taking it into the post office, they put all the postage on at their house and dropped it in some post office drop spot, where the post office takes it away. This way, they don't have to engage with people at the post office run the risk of getting caught. And they don't want to put their own return address on the packages because if they get caught by the post office is going to get you. So, but they don't want to put another person's return address on that's an actual person. So, because for one thing, the postman might know that that person doesn't live there. For another thing, that person will be home to receive the packages. Rachel and I were living in a hotel near our house while I was selling. And it was very stressful. So anyway, it was obvious to whoever was doing this. They drove around the neighborhood and said, okay, this house is for sale. No one's living here, obviously. I'll put this return address down. And that way, if my packages do get returned, they'll sit on the steps of this house until I come by and pick them up. Right now, it's bad memories. I had to go to an open casket wake for a family of 5 who lived up the street. They were victims of carbon monoxide. That's horrible. Wow. I fell down some stairs when I was 2 and hit my head hard. Good for you, Dr. Bong. Even the pets, it's crazy. The thing is, it's like we're subject to so much criticism by other people, and many of us are very much our own worst critics as well. Unless you are like super high achieving uber saint, you're going to think you're falling short. In part, it's because think of all the various narratives we all consume: TV shows, books, movies, whatever. And the range of different expressions of self and well, yeah, the different possible things one might be. Okay, we cannot understand ourselves very well in a vacuum. We kind of can. We can understand our body stuff in a vacuum if we have SI on the front stack, especially. Popping perks or Xan? No, these are neither perks nor Xan. You should be able to recognize this, everybody. Everybody should know what this is. This is the best thing of all. This is a 30 milligram instant release Adderall. I don't do either of those things. I don't do any kind of opiates or opioids. I don't do. Like every once in a while. Well, not every once in a while. More often than that, but not much more often than that. I'll take half a Klonopin of Rachel's to help me sleep. But, it's her prescription. She has a little more per month than she really needs to take. But obviously, I can only take it occasionally. Yeah, well, Dr. Bong, you're not wrong. The thing is, I take it like every day, so it's not like there's a come down per se. Like yesterday, I just took one during the day, and then I ended up smoking another half of one last night. Well, this is my second one that I've taken today. The crash is fine. The thing is, you just gotta kind of plan it. It's planned obsolescence, you know. So like last night, I just smoked a half of one just for kicks. It's the only bit of it I smoked so far this bottle. I don't normally smoke much of it because it's kind of a waste. Yes, I did see that match, Barat Cesar, and it was very dramatic because was that the game in which Czechia? I don't know what game. I think it was a different game. I watched all four games yesterday, so I had two. I had a one in one window here, one in another window here during both of them. During the first two, both of them, and then the second two I watched back to back because I slept through them. I was taking a nap. I mean, I'm not a huge lover of benzos. You want on a last minute goal? Yeah. Okay. Did you watch all the games yesterday? Which was the game in which the referee completely went insane and there was like 17 yellow cards? Was it that game? Was that the one? Where he yellow carded like every player on Turkey? That was the game, huh? Oh my God. How in the world did they not did they call a foul and prevent him from continuing to score that goal, that Czechia goal? Oh my God. Oh, and Barat, I am so sorry that your entire team got yellow carded by that horrible ref. Oh my God. How many of your players are going to have to miss the next match? You know, probably a lot of them. That was horrible. You guys got reamed by that ref. What was he fucking thinking? He was completely insane. It was the worst ref game I've ever seen. It's not a racket or a rat tank fun full bat. You could see it in the ref's face. Like he knew this thing was just getting out of his hands completely and he was losing it, but he couldn't seem to stop himself from keep doing it. It was crazy. Well, I'm sorry that your players got just wantonly yellow carded left and right. Do you know what the average number of yellow cards per match is? 4. And this ref issued double digits worth of um, uh, yellow cards. At least 12, more than that, I think. Now, I wanted to respond to that boy Klaus, who I didn't respond to earlier. My self criticism is directed towards lack of achievement. Well, ain't it always? Not always. Sometimes it is. I've got a lot of different kinds of self criticism. Like Sean L says, if there isn't something wrong with you, I wouldn't trust you to run a bath. Well, my point of this is that this is what's wrong with our world. We live in a world in which we're so hyper aware of every expression of humanity in its most perfect form, that all of us can't help but feel by and large like complete fucking failures because we've been told by so many people, so many different ways, and so many different times, you're not meh enough, or you're too meh. Be different. Oh, I know. Yeah, he gave plenty of Czechians yellow cards too. But it doesn't matter to them because they aren't playing in the next match. So I don't feel bad for them getting the yellow cards. Those yellow cards won't hurt them at all. I feel bad for Turkey getting the yellow cards. I noticed everybody was calling it Turkey, Turkey, or something like that yesterday. When did they start calling it Turkey? So there was a period of time of this channel in which its motto was, "There's nothing wrong with you." And the idea was that cognitive functions explain how you cannot have any strength without a corresponding deficit attentionally. Accordingly, you can only expect yourself to be good at being you. You can't expect yourself to be somebody else. If you're going to be logical, you're going to have problems with subjectivities. If you're going to be intuitive, you're going to have problems with experience. If you're going to be, extrovertedly feeling, you're going to have problem with extroverted thinking. Valid comparison is the thief of joy. I don't know what the thief of joy is. Turkey. Turkey means turkey in Turkish. That's a hilarious sentence. Turkey means turkey in Turkish. Oh, I see. Well, here's the thing, Kane Parks. Comparison is not necessarily the thief of joy. I think Taylor told me one time from Flow State, Taylor, that guy, he said to me one time something that I've always remembered since, which is compare against the alternatives, not against an ideal. So, for example, if I'm feeling like, oh, I don't have enough to offer in the dating market. No girl would want to go out with me. Before you say that, at least be fair to yourself enough to compare against alternatives rather than the ideal. And one thing that goes along with this difficult is that we're a lot easier on other people than we are on ourselves. Like, I might think of myself like, let's say I were insecure about going bald. I might think to myself, oh, what if Rachel finds a guy with more hair and then starts going out with him? Well, I have to be a little bit more sane than that, right? At least compare against the alternative, which are actually like other complete people. They're not some composite of perfect traits, all of which are better than my version of that, right? But it's also the case that all in all, in total comparison is a thief of joy, or can be, you know. Sean, I think, points out here that comparing against your previous self might be a worthwhile endeavor. But even that, I think, as he says, is additionally, it makes the frame about improvement, having some kind of utility purpose thing. Major meth lab raided, but case still open. Investigation. Largest lab sheriff has ever seen in the county. Oh. A meth lab here in Mariposa? How convenient. Yeah, I saw the Portugal-Georgia game. Portugal didn't put out their A squad because they won their first two games, though. Ronaldo was out there, but he's actually not very good anymore. You know, he's getting a little too old. So it doesn't surprise me that Georgia was able to beat Portugal, since Portuguese had its B team on the field. Being present is hard, but therapists say it's the best thing. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I guess you would say that. Let me go back up here for a second. Actually, people tend to compare themselves to others in anything that they do. Unfortunately, the people that often compare themselves, they often compare themselves to the best in field. So they create a discouragement of self from the start. It's better to compare against your previous self, thus you're constantly gazing at your progress opposed to your shortcomings. That's very astute, Sean. Very astute. I could be. I saw that one. I agree. I mean, you can just Casey Jones. I don't know what you're talking about. What if she does want that and leaves me for it? You know, that's something you're going to be concerned about potentially. And she's definitely not. You know, that's not me. Okay. Uh, I agree, Sean, although it can be difficult to consciously not compare yourself to ideals. Speaking from a standpoint of someone who used to be medically morbidly obese, when people who are heavy have a hard time of it in life because they face a lot of ontological violence, a lot of just completely unwarranted hostility from others, etc. Robert Balouf says, I used to hide my weed under my foreskin so cops wouldn't find it. Remind me never to smoke out with you. Never let Robert Balouf smoke you out. Rule number one. It is, well, I mean, one could argue it's easier to be pregnant. I mean, present. It's easier to be pregnant. It's easier to be present if you are experiencing hell on earth. In some sense, like, where would you be more present than in the middle of a battlefield? However, I agree that if the more difficult life is, perhaps the more easy it is to escape into the past, the future, imagination, whatever. My feeling is like the more time you have to brood, the more brooding you will do. The more busy you are, the less you have time for brooding. But the thing is, if you were talking about the lens of happiness or the lens of but I think a better lens is satisfaction, contentment, satisfaction, because I'm a little bit incredulous about the idea that anybody's truly satisfied with just hedonism. How delightfully absurd! Hedonism bot from Futurama is one of my favorite characters of all time. He truly, truly is a great character. Will you stop squawking, squawkersons? Birds just squawk, squawk, squawking. So I think satisfaction you might need to define as well. But I mean, I think there's no single like prime directive except for what I've deemed the prime directive, namely to close the gap between expectations and reality. What causes people genuine distress more than anything else seems to be when expectations and realities diverge from one another. However, it's not the case that that simply by attaining the prime directive that you'll feel any sort of happiness or satisfaction. It seems like failing to attain the prime directive equals distress. But it takes more than just meeting the prime directive to equal happiness or satisfaction. Robert asks the question, would you rather marry a woman with one large boob or three small boobs? Neither. Okay. Through the lens of true happiness rather than self-improvement, it will become more subjective to the individual. People need to have completion in their life. It helps build strong growth within yourself, no matter what exactly it is, small or big. If it matters to you and makes you happy, you will be happy. Okay, so Pippi D says completion, which you might call as execution and follow through. You heard the fart. I think you're hearing your own fart. I don't believe I farted right now. Do people should lower expectations to feel contentment? I don't know how much. I mean, I think people can either work on one, or are inclined naturally to work on one side of the equation or the other. Some people might want to change the map. That's to say, change your expectations, right? But others might want to change the experience to be more like the map. So, take for example BPD. BPD, borderline personality disorder, is a personality disorder that stems from childhood abuse. And what the BPD person does is they continually create the betrayal their map says will occur in intimate relationships. So because they have, as children, made their foundational life map, and that foundational life map is based on what they've experienced, they've concluded that people you most need to trust to love and care for you properly cannot be trusted, and they will betray you. In that instance, they create the reality to match their map. Every once in a while, you might get somebody smart and capable enough to change the map, but that's extremely rare. It seems as though until I met Sean, I would have said that never happens. If completion is the metric, certain personalities are F from the start. True that. If you're SE polar and completion is the metric, you're not going to be very happy. I get the sense, though, that INFPs, if they're empowered to be completionless, that they can attain happiness without a lot of completion. But ultimately, I think if you're going to look at it from a cognitive function perspective, the happiest person is one who's attaining on their first, third, fifth, and seventh slot functions. And it would seem that the more assaultive the world is to you, the more you retreat to fewer functions. So if life really sucks, then you're not going to trust yourself in any functions but your dominant and your tool. You're not going to be happy because you're only achieving on one of your absolute values, really. Yes, Barat Cesar, I do think that. Well, I mean, they are all the same, 16, in that they all have a trust disorder and unhealthy relationship with betrayal. And the thing is, betrayal can mean different things. It doesn't necessarily have to mean cheating, right? The thing that people with borderline personality disorder do in terms behaviorally is basically behave like, I was not loved properly as a child, and therefore I still expect love as a child expects love and needs love, and I will be like a child to require you to love me unconditionally as you would a child. But if you do, I just test it again and again and again. And functionally, they're unable to do the last stage of the prisoner's dilemma problem. So if you have an ideal strategy for the prisoner's dilemma problem, that ideal strategy is nice, mad, forgiving. You assume the other person's going to be good, and you be nice. And then if they defect, you get mad and you defect as a reciprocal punishment to them. And then you once again assume they'll be nice. You forgive and expect that betrayal is behind us, and we will move forward now with the opportunity to trust each other again. That's what BPD people can't do, is that third step. Once they feel as though they've been betrayed at all, they're unable to trust anybody at all. But look, it is the case that some people with borderline personality disorder can work through it, but that begins with them acknowledging they have it, which very few people with borderline personality disorder do. That you have to fight them tooth and nail to admit they have a diagnosis. Well, abandonment is just another word for betrayal of a child's trust with abuse, you know. BPD people ruin other people's lives very frequently, if not most of the time. There are exceptions. Some BPD people don't. But I've seen my friend Corey's life be completely ruined by his BPD wife. I'm still dealing with the damage of being with Kimberly for 2.5 years, as she was so ontologically assaultive to me that I have like issues that I didn't used to have, you know, like not issues, what do you call it? Complexes. I have insecurities where I used to have none. Well, I guess that's a way to alleviate boredom, Dirty Dan, but not how I alleviate boredom. Yeah, I know all about her, but no, she did not have BPD, Barat says it. She had borderline personality disorder. Um, Dirty Dan, I don't want to play your silly games of provocation, okay? So stop it. Yeah, she had bipolar. BPD is not bipolar. Rachel has bipolar. Bipolar is a mental illness thing we treated with drugs. Borderline personality disorder is a behavioral slash personality disorder that links to childhood abuse. A lot of people make that mistake. Totally understandable. Barat. Totally understandable. Lots of people make that mistake. So, and I have a big heart too. She took advantage of that. Well, she did. I'd never been with anybody who was so expressly abusive before, you know. I assumed I was going to win, right? I'm not used to. I just, I didn't win. I just lost the whole time. You can't, good can't defeat evil when it plays entirely by the rules. You just have to extricate yourself from that shit. Well, and they'll create insecurities where none existed. So, you know, at the same time, I don't entirely regret that time of my life. I made a lot of videos and stuff, made a lot of music, I did a lot of stuff. There's a difference between being with your dual and being with a mirage type. Like I'm with Rachel, she's my mirage type. She and I are mutually deactivating. So it's easy to not accomplish anything together. It's chill just hanging out, you know. Hi, Kim. Is that Bloya? Kim Bloya. Hi, Kim Bloya. I'm not your father, but what medications are for bipolar? Well, can you have good without evil? Sure. Because there's a difference between evil and suffering, right? Evil is willful. Willful and aware of the harms and not caring about it. So Rachel is on um The magic bullet for bipolar mania. After being poorly treated by a combination of wrong drugs for a decade by this shitty place in New York, we hired a private psychiatrist and he prescribed her olanzapine, Prozac, and Klonopin. Combination of those three things. But I mean, really, it's the olanzapine and the Prozac that are the magic bullet. But Rachel additionally needs Klonopin because she can't sleep. Well, you can be once you're properly treated, it's like in remission. Rachel shows no sign of insanity at all. She's perfectly sane. And this was after the first, you know, we've been going out for, I don't know, some stretch of time. And she was not properly treated. In fact, she had a full-blown psychotic break. She went back to New York and went back on the meds she'd been on before, and then came back to LA, and so I saw her in all variety of not fully sane for quite a long time before we got her on this combo of drugs. And it was as soon as she took added the last component of it, the Prozac one morning, it was like Prozac supposedly takes a long time to get in your bloodstream. It was within half an hour, and it was like a light switch had been turned on. All of a sudden, Rachel was perfectly sane. It was crazy, and she's been that way ever since. Yeah, borderline personality disorder can only be treated with like cognitive behavioral therapy, something like that. Basically, they've got to I don't know, retrain their brain or something. No, I didn't like Insane Rachel. Elias says dialectic behavioral therapy. I'm worried I have it due to trauma of the past 10 years during high school and COVID, getting off Zoloft, fight with my mom, kicked out, homeless, breakup, and cheated, worked terrible jobs. Your parents wanting you to be perfect. Yeah, well, I mean, you're definitely gonna have PTSD. I don't know how old you have to experience abuse to get to be free to experience it as BPD. Hi, 100 Eye. Is BPD closer to extreme narcissism or psychopathy? No, because the thing about BPD is that it's specifically a problem in your relationship to your intimate others. Um, if you if they're just like work colleagues or whatever, you'll probably be really well, you might be well liked, or you might be at least you're not going to be toxic to those people because you don't expect them to not betray you. You're not relying. Your emotional well-being doesn't rely upon their being truly on your side. So I would say, have I ever seen Shutter Island? No. Dropped out of college? Well, understandably. Well, I hope things are getting better for you, Ananova 5. I hope you've found I hope you found better times. And I'm not sure what causes narcissism. I think that too may have to do with childhood abuse, but it's directed kind of it's proactive in its toxicity. It looks for victims rather than BPD, which just expresses in your most inner circle. The thing is, I think a lot of us probably, and I think this has to do more than people think with whether or not they're introverted sensing front stack. But I know I personally am subject to many intrusive thoughts from the past, like bad memories. And that I have habituated myself when I have a bad memory. And it doesn't really matter even if I did anything wrong in this bad memory or was just a bad memory. I mean, like, I can't come up with a really good example now. But like being mean to some kid in high school or something. Whenever I think about that, which is one time where I did something wrong, I just say, I hate myself. I hate myself. And I don't know what's a better way to deal with that stuff. It's like, I don't like that character. I don't like the character that's guilty of those things, that has been guilty of those things. But, you know, all of our lives are filled with falling short. And depending on where introverted sensing is in your function stack, I think you are burdened in different ways with those shortcomings, either as expressed through keeping track of, remembering, and re-experiencing to some extent previous bad experiences. And it's basically like post-trauma stuff, right? Traumatic shit leaves a psychic wound of some sort. Depending on the nature of the trauma, it could be guilt, shame. I don't know what other bad feelings. Well, I mean, obviously, if you feel like you were victimized, it can be anger. You know, it could be fear. Like when my dad killed himself, I had a anxiety attack shortly thereafter that was completely like irrational. My aunt had called and wanted to talk to me on the phone. It wasn't that long after my dad killed himself, but it wasn't I had talked to her on previous occasions. Anyway, I said, I'm busy right now. Can I call you tomorrow or something? And she said, yeah, but she sounded like a little disappointed. And then I had this anxiety attack that she was going to kill herself. So, that's another kind of post-trauma thing. If you look at Enneagram highlighting shame, anger, and fear as the negative emotions, core negative emotions, you could probably taxonomy, because the Enneagram seems to provide a pretty good taxonomy of FI. You could probably taxonomy all your post-trauma reactions is linking to those three emotions. So you could think of a BPD person's abuse of her significant other as linking to fear, essentially. That fear and shame, maybe even anger, I don't know, but like maybe she feels ashamed of herself and feels inadequate and wants to bring the other person down to make him as inadequate as she is, right? Or she might cheat on him because she's afraid that he's going to cheat on her, whether she's inadequate sexually or whatever. She might be angry at him for perfectly innocent things that trigger associations with similar sounding things that were done malevolently in previous instances. And so you could, if you wanted to behaviorally express borderline personality disorder, you could say it's toxic responses, toxic expressions of fear, shame, and anxiety. Fear, shame, and anger in a person's intimate relations. What are black pillars? Like, now can't find a job, it's so hard to find a job, I'm so pissed, I guess. I'm sorry, Anna Nova. I wish things were better for you. I wish I had something useful to say. Times are hard, you know. Right now is a crazy time. Feels like shit's hurtling towards suffering town. But you know, if you can settle for something simple, low wage, and if you can manage to get shit tons of hours, you know, then you can experience that other horrible life instead of just being a wage slave and eking out enough to get by, barely. But, you know, if sometimes it might be worth it to exchange one shittiness for another. Depending on your specifics. My moderators help though. Ironic because I'm in my 20s. Great timing, world. Thanks. Oh, it feels like we're in the 20s. It feels like we're rolling into the 30s. Not a very good time. '80s were a pretty prosperous time, really. '70s would be a better comparison, probably. Like, with the gas crisis, Um, and just like the transition from like hopey changey hippie into just sleazy disco, whatever. Does anyone listen to Roy Wood's music? No, I don't listen to it. Never heard of him. Maybe we'll all have our shit together by the 70s. Hi, John. How's it going? I feel also like a lot of people distressed about the state of affairs in the world, and I acknowledge that it's not just a matter of like, oh, you're just anytime you read the news, it's just going to be full of bad stuff. It's going to make you think a bunch of bad stuff's going on. Blah blah blah. I don't agree with that. People who study astrophysics tend to come to a sense of comfort of the black pillar mindset. You know, this binary derives from a specific function of slot. So so black pillar mindset is kind of like nihilism wrapped in in scope and scale of the universe awe. The person who's okay. This says a person who has adopted a nihilistic and often far right philosophy, especially an incel who believes men's dating success is determined purely by their physical appearance. Well, I agree it is worse than the 70s economy. I think it's a little better than the Great Depression, but but not I think the 70s were better than it is now. Do I believe the news is manipulative? I mean, I believe that when people tell stories, they have agendas. They're expressing their values, you know. The fourth horseman says, I think there's something wrong with all of us. Everyone has some type of issues. Well, I mean, I think what what this poll being at 64% really shows is that we've all been assaulted by myriad messages all meaning the same thing. You're not good enough. I think we've all been told, each of us has been told, you're not good enough in so many ways by so many people that the vast majority of us feel like there must be something wrong with me. It does feel as though we're teetering towards a Great Depression, and I would imagine that to the extent such a thing happens, I mean, the population is so much bigger now. One wonders how that's going to play out. You know, I mean, we see how it is playing out. We've got our cities in fairly temperate places being inundated with problems of homelessness. Another thing to note is that commercial space all over the place is sitting empty. It's a terrible time to do any kind of commercial real estate. But tell people when I ask if something's wrong, then I just deflect. I see. Well, or rat tank full wet. I know that there are some people who prefer an itinerant lifestyle involving camping and so forth, right? But um I feel confident that the majority of people who don't have a permanent residence would prefer to if they could manage that. So, that's the biggest problem we have. What happened? Okay, there's a number of things that happened with COVID, but one thing that happened is you had a number of businesses that could deal with things remotely begin dealing with things remotely. There's little to no reason to go back to um, dealing with things locally once you've established that remotely works as well and is less burden on all parties involved and therefore in theory cheaper, and more cost effective. If you can run your business without having a central office, why lease that space? Typology is corroded with this others are better than you notion, which is why some people try to convince the world they are a better type than they are. The entire point of it has been turned. True. Elliot says, yes, I'm very disturbed. Hope you're doing good, Eric. I'm doing well, thank you very much. Lightbow, hello. You will not believe this spinach and artichoke incident I had today. You dropped your spinach in my artichoke. You dip your artichoke in my spinach. That's how Reese's Pieces were invented. 3 sticks equals 1 rock. True. True. It's a conspiracy that the government makes people so soft they can't handle being outdoors. The government doesn't make people soft. People make people soft. What do I do with my time here, tucked right between Yosemite National Park, Sierra National Forest, all these wilderness trails? I could go hiking. I could do all kinds of things. First thing I do is I get a little wilderness car so I don't have to walk with my legs. And then I stay inside all the time. So there you go. Guess who did that to Eric? Was it the government? No. It was me. Can I ask a question on relations, Eric? What has been the longest a previous relation has been on your mind? I mean, they never leave your mind entirely. If you're talking about like somebody's significant to you, um, if you mean, let's say you really loved somebody and the relationship didn't work out, that's never going to leave you. You're going to remember if you have SI in the front stack at all, you'll miss it. You'll remember it for the rest of your life. Hey, sorry, did I miss your babies? You did not miss my babies. Were you aiming at them? Actually, I don't know if you missed my babies or not. You'll have to explain what you mean by that. Pizza or burritos or pasta? Good question, KM. I'm going to go pizza. Lightbow is on the same page as me. I'm not a black pillar. But I think another reason why Oh, I haven't shown my babies yet. Old man stanky breathe. Amazon, Amazon. Is that me? Am I old man stanky breathe? I like that. That's a that's a fantastic name. Guess what I was just doing? There was this someone I wanted to marry, but had to break up with her because she was detrimental to my life. What are those white lines in the sky? Contrails. If you get rid of burritos, would you also lose soft tacos? Um, Excuse me, Orat Tangfun for what? I can tell you with 100% certainty that you have never smelled my cock. Okay? You do not know what it smells like. It smells like lilacs. Lilacs and cinnamon rolls. It's a wonderful smell. I've heard that a billion times. Amazon, Amazon. Please don't make stupid comments that other people have made a million times before. That causes me to projectile vomit in boredom. Although I haven't heard the apple hang part before. If I was a man, I'd just marry the woman with the biggest bazongas. I I I can't say that I'm with Rachel because of her chestful ways, but it certainly is appreciated. However, you know, if I were with somebody with a very small chest, I'd appreciate that, I'm sure, just as much. Did you know empanadas? Empanadas, empanadas, day and night. It's empanadas, and empanadas, and empanadas. What are empanadas? They like Venezuelan meat pies? Yeah, right. Casey Jones, I am with you. My my delight in Rachel's kind of like picture perfect, straight out of an airbrushed picture boobs. Well, let's just leave it at that. How are you? How old are you, man? Says Race Santu. I'm 53 years old. 53 and 53 and 2 months. 53 and 1/6 years old. That's how old I am. But that's because in the West, when we're born, we start at 0. But if we were in Korea when we were born, we'd start at 1. 53? Oh, so you're dead. I'm actually not dead yet, Race Sandhu. Um, and the truth is, in all things that matter, I'm confident I'm more relevant and contemporaneous than you. No matter how old you are. For example, I'm relevant and contemporaneous enough to note that Race Sandhu, you were a skibbity bombaclat who presumably should be coming here to pay your phantom tax, assuming you haven't paid it in Ohio, whereas I, the Rizzling Gigachad Sigma that I am, knows better. So Now you learned something. That's fine, Reese. I'm just joking too. Eric, tell me, if you were to be reincarnated, what would you want to be reincarnated into? Uh, you know, a person. Might as well try being a girl next time. That'd be cool. I can be transracial easily enough. I can be all different kinds of races all the time. Truth is, there's no way to experience being a girl except by actually being a girl. Oh, I might be around for a little longer than that. I suspect I've got multiple decades left in me. After all, I'm a so-called ectomorph, which means I'm tall and thin, and can't have no sort of weight, putting on weight issues at all. So obviously, I'm not going to have high blood pressure or have a heart attack or something like that. I have come from a family of long-lived people. My great grandmother lived till she was 99. My grandmother and both my parents lived into their mid 80s. So I would expect I got a good 3, 4 decades left. And if you're assuming you've got as much, Ray Santu, well, I wouldn't want to be a young person right now. We may very well have some sort of crazy doomsday-ish kind of event happen, in which case you might have just as much time left as I do. Stuck Prism, been a while. How you doing? I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking. Mm-hmm. And I'm on my third wife. I don't have 3 wives. I only have one wife, but she's wife number 3 and the final wife. We're going to be together for the rest of my life. What do you think about being able to adjust your body in real time, like waist size, eye color, hair, skin? I don't want to adjust my body. Not just one person, but 1, 2, 3 different women have married me. My current wife is a delightful and very attractive 39-year-old woman who looks even younger than that. It's obvious this contest will not decide our knowledge in the Force, but with our skills with a lightsaber. Fair enough. Capio. Hi, Capio. Your name is similar to that of my cat. Yeah, I feel bad for people that hang on to that miserable skibbity bomba class life. How do you get your height? Is it genetic? Yeah, apparently I look like my biological maternal grandfather. The grandfather that I knew growing up was actually my mom's stepdad. And my biological grandfather died in a drunk driving crash. Uh, Capio's on his second wife and looks forward to his third wife. I've been married for 4.5 years, and it just keeps getting better. She's a wonderful woman. I feel very fortunate to be with her. I do suspect that vapes aren't good, but they're better than cigarettes. I just quit smoking about 2 months ago. Why do I look like Count Dooku? Because God made me that way. Mm-hmm. It's my third wife, but it's her first husband. So I got a woman with no previous husbands and no kids. The key is to marry them all at the same time, guys. Neither of my wives got anything from the divorce. because they didn't deserve anything. So why would I give them anything? Good to meet you. See you on your way to heaven. You're going to see me on my way to heaven? So you're anticipating we're both going to die in a large arch doomsday event. Why did I stop smoking? Didn't want to get COPD. You remember that video about project completion and cognitive functions for a while back? No, I don't. Or rat tang fun full of wet. I hear a lot of different things about vapes versus cigarettes, etc. But what I'm working off of, first and foremost, is what my body's telling me. What my body's telling me is that my lungs are recovering. I don't get a shortage of breath. I don't cough nearly as much. And my lungs feel like, substantially better than when I smoked cigarettes. I don't get wheezy as much. I don't get asthma as much. So in other words, I'm experiencing plenty of actual benefits from quitting smoking. And it's hard for me to see to know what or if there are any equivalent harms, but I know I'm not experiencing them. They could still be there. No, I'm not going to watch the debate. I mean, no, I don't think quitting the vape is harder than quitting cigarettes. If I was willing to do so, I would switch back to cigarettes in a heartbeat. Cigarettes are so much better than vape. This is just like a way to get nicotine, And a lot of times I don't even pull it into my lungs. Because you can absorb the nicotine through your mouth too. It was so satisfying the other day. Cameron brought this blunt, and it was just like having a little bit of tobacco from the leaf was like, oh yeah. Sean L., I find it very hard to believe that you're an INFJ. Oh, you know me, schlong. Just, what can I say? I hate myself. Will that help? Probably not. I think Isaiah Rude hadn't seen enough people deal with TE questions to correctly conclude from your TE test that you were TE polar. He says you did dramatically worse on it than other people, but like, what does that even mean? I don't know. I need to hear something not worse or better than other people, but rather failed to do meow or successfully did meow. Why are you crying, Becky? Audley says. Why are you crying, Becky? Audley. I'm not crying. Am I hung like a big horse? No. Is there any hope for me? All my uncles on my dad's side are bald, including him. Will I too be bald? I don't know. I agree it's scary to be a young person now in America, at least. All right, well, that's not what somebody who's TE polar would say. Somebody who's TE polar is FE tool. They would say, oh, okay, gosh, We had a 50-year party funded by cheap credit, expansionist wars, deceit, and fraud. Huge mortgages on homes, built beautiful cities, and then stopped giving a shit about them. Well, I mean, I think the thing that's hurting the cities right now is that there's been a dramatic reduction in the need and or desire for commercial space, especially office space. Yeah, Schlong, what I mean by that fourth and fifth slide going 50-50 is that in terms of instrumental and absolute values, the general rule is that odd numbered slots are absolute values, even numbered are instrumental. Except with your 4-5, I believe to be the case that the native aspect of your fourth function is going to be absolute valued, and the same for your fifth. So, in other words, as an SI fourth person, I treat SI physical as an absolute value. I have to be comfortable. I take a great deal of satisfaction in having a delicious meal when I'm hungry. It's and I go when I get into bed. It's very much a value, an end in and of itself. I agree, that boy Klaus, but so for me, the absolute value of NI is metaphysical, which is its native aspect, and SI is physical, its native aspect. As a consequence, I only instrumentally value keeping track of information, archiving shit, which is basically SI metaphysical. That's only instrumentally valued, archiving my experiences. Whereas the NI that links to the physical, which is sort of knowing when to pull the trigger, that's only instrumentally valued as well for me. How did you survive Order 66, Master Eric? I don't know what Order 66 is. Would you walk around Compton for $10,000? Sure. I'm assuming I'd be fine in Compton. I don't think people who live in Compton are going to just be violent to me for walking around Compton. And that boy Klaus, you're not wrong that homelessness was increasingly a big problem before COVID. I think what COVID did was mess up the commercial real estate markets a little bit more. I mean, that's been the things of multiple vectors are aggravating each other. We're moving towards a world in which people just aren't outside as much. They're not off of screens as much. Would I walk around Compton at night? For $10,000? Assuming I don't have to carry the $10,000 with me. Yes. This is what I mean when I say that everyone is correct to their understanding of the functions in their slots. Think of it like practicing the same thing over and over again, only to learn the thing you practiced was wrong or the inefficient way of doing things. Now you are a master the wrong way of doing, yeah, but the entire time you thought you were correct in your method. There's lots of unpack in my summation that often gets misinterpreted. Right. Well, but the thing is, Sean, it's important to remember that let's pretend typology were astrology. Okay, they were just completely arbitrary. Even if it were astrology completely arbitrary, if you think that I'm a Sagittarius because I was born April 27th, then you learned astrology wrong. If you think that because 2 times 2 equals 4, that therefore when you multiply things, you simply count up 1, 2, 1, 2, and you get the multiplication of it, that's fine for 2 times 2. It's not fine for 3 times 3. Then you say 3 times 3 is 6, but it's actually 9, right? The point is whether the thing you're talking about is completely bullshit or definitionally tautological, like math. It doesn't matter what kind of thing it is. If it is a thing at all, actually, then it must be understood for what it is. So while astrology is completely bullshit, it's still the case that someone who says April 27th is Sagittarius is wrong, right? They're wrong because they don't have their own system. If they do, that's something other than astrology. Because astrology, we know what that is. Now, the difference between astrology and personality type is actually a thing that you actually express to the exclusion of other things. And it's defined correctly when we have something that makes intuitive sense, that is comprehensive, that we can test in a variety of ways, etc. If the people who are talking about personality type and cognitive function or testing you for it don't understand correctly what they're testing for, if they think that because a pig's tail is curly, that everything that's curly on any creature is a tail, then they shouldn't be talking about tails and curliness at all, right? But they are. So that's the thing we need to remember about typology is when you see people other than me, you're going to get less expertise because I've been doing it for a long time and been doing it right for a long time. When you see other people who are not attempting to do it like I do it, when you find such people and get them to type you are guaranteed to get somebody who explains to you that so you're a 6 because 3 times 3 is 6. Because what we do is we just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you see 3 times 3 is 6. And that's why you're an INFJ or whatever. Now with Isaiah Rude, he wants to do it correctly. In other words, he's basing his stuff on the right ideas, basically. But he's also not done it nearly as long as I have and doesn't understand the concepts quite as well, etc. Plus, he probably wants to differentiate himself, show himself to be like the new, like the bright new force of correctness that's even better than Eric or what Eric does, which is fine. He's happy to have that. I'm happy to have him take that role, but he has to actually, be that correct first. I don't get my working definitions for Enneagram types anywhere. My point about Enneagram is it's just a taxonomy of FI, basically. And how our behavioral responses to certain kinds of negative feelings are fairly reflexive. Okay, so guess you're doing a carrier bag. You would fit in anywhere. Off of screens hot, more like off of scringe, am I right? I don't know what that means. What's scringe? Eric, from my own understanding of my temperament. I believe I'm ISFP, but how can I actually determine if that's true? Well, I need a retesting. I've taken many online and written one. How will you know if you're ISFP? Well, uh, that's a tough question to answer. Well, there are definitely plenty of things that are absolute or rat tank from full of what. There are two kinds of things in the world. High resolution shit. High resolution shit is stuff that's not communicable. Not really. You can communicate about it, but you can't really communicate it. So the experience of taking a bath is non-communicable. It's it's something you subjectively experience, and nobody else can have that subjective experience. They have to be you to have it, and they can't be you. So um, that's one kind of data that we process. The actual data of digging a hole to plant the plants in outside. We can talk about it, I can plan it, I can take steps to make it easier or more difficult, I can get stuff, etc. But to actually do it, I have to do the high resolution work of actually digging a hole. There's nothing um, binary or black or white or absolute about that. It's just the experience of doing it and the paying attention to the doing of it, the using of your biological muscles, etc. It's not a meaning based thing. Uh, in contrast, certain kinds of things are absolute for sure when they're communicable. Communicable things are parsed as black and whites. So if I say, if all birds fly and I am a bird, then I fly. That is absolutely 100% true because it's conditionally true. The fact that not all birds fly and that I'm not a bird is irrelevant. It is 100% absolutely irrefutably true that if all birds fly and I am a bird, then I fly. That is incontrovertible. So you can have absolutes when you're dealing with things that are low resolution stuff, which is various forms of language and expression thereof. Instead of knowing experientially, it's knowing intuitively what the meaning of things is. Instead of executing in a real world sense, concretely, you execute by saying words. Instead of deliberating by knowing what's important to you, what you want, whether this thing, the way things are going are consistent with your interests, you deliberate as to whether it's fair to everybody, whether it's consistent. The words are consistent with other words that we affirm. And then lastly, if you're dealing with low resolution stuff, then instead of figuring out how to solve problems, figuring out how to ordinate tasks in order to attain an outcome you want, you determine how your words and physical expressions, gestures, and stuff impact another person's perceptions, amiability, etc. Who is your least favorite personality type? I don't really have a least favorite personality type. Right, I agree. Or rat tang fun full wat. You are correct. Some birds cannot fly. That's why I used that example. If all birds can fly and I am a bird, then I must fly. It's a way of testing, in some sense, the premises, right? So by falsifying the fact that I fly, we can falsify the fact that either all birds fly or I am a bird or both, depending. That's fine as I read. I The only reason what I was saying there is it's unavoidable that Isaiah Rue's going to want to incorporate his own ideas and his own typing experience into this process that he's developing that is predicated on defensible typology, but is not enslaved to it, right? So the point being that you know, I, this started with me saying I find it very hard to believe that Sean is an INFJ. And we were talking about how you tested his TE. So when I ask TE questions, I usually ask a few different forms of it, right? Like break Mia into Mia number of steps, but also what's the optimal number of steps to break Mia into? And then I ask TE questions like, can you come up with a solution for plastics in the ocean? Can you come up with a solution for global warming? Big problems like that, too, they say. The interesting thing about the plastics in the ocean question is almost every single person, to the extent they answer it at all, they answer what to do to prevent future plastics from going into the ocean. They don't actually answer the question, which is how to solve for plastics already in the ocean. What's the point of discourse if the conclusions have already been made? I mean, discourse is useful in discussing things that need to be determined. The problem we have is for lots of things, there are lots of different things in the world in which most people believe there's lots of discussion to be had, or they're in a place in their life where they want to discuss, right? But my problem is that for many of these things that people believe are still open for discussion, I believe I have the correct answer for it. Not necessarily that I made up the correct answer, but that I know what it is. Obviously, it's frustrating when people want to discuss things that I see as already known and determined. L. Yaz says, aren't there even microplastics in the clouds now? I don't know. Maybe. Do I believe they put a man on the moon? I'm going to say yeah. But I understand why people are willing to doubt it. Keeping in mind that it was a one-time event, it's a lot more conceivable to imagine a one-time event representing some disinformation campaign of some sort than, say, to imagine that satellites are bullshit. You might get hit by a bolt of insight one day. Well, my point is, I think it's understandable that people doubt official stories of things. We know well that there are agencies within the United States purporting to operate in the interest of the United States who are managing information and narrative about a variety of things, either by classifying shit so that all this stuff has to be kept secret, or by meow or by meow. So there's plenty of reason to doubt official stories of things. That doesn't mean we should doubt the official story of everything. I'm not going to, Zargoth. Can we please not talk about such a horrible topic? Let's go ahead and time you out right away. Why do I keep telling myself it was building 5? Oh, well, I mean, I may have been wrong about that. My bad. If I suggested that there might be some inclination in Isaiah to set himself apart. Well, I didn't mean to accuse you of subjective interest, Isaiah Rude. I would be very mad if someone accused me of being subjectively motivated as well. I didn't even think about it really. My bad. I get it. You're no more subjective than I am. Because the BBC news anchor was standing in front of Building 5 and she reported that Building 7 had collapsed a long time before it actually did. Like, what's up with that? Why have I never got my hammered father? I don't know. Why have you never got your hammered father? Do you know Imran Khan? No, I don't know who Imran Khan is. Shoaib? Shoaib? Who is Imran Khan? Yeah, you're right. My bad. I wasn't thinking about you specifically. I was just thinking like, oh, someone, some young buck coming into town with all his sauntery sass. I told you I was watching all the Long Rick. Wonder what that means. Trump's best friend. Imran Khan is Trump's best friend. Isn't it nice to know that President Trump, former President Trump, maybe President again Trump, has a friend? Everybody needs a friend. So it's coming up on 2 in the PM. We do have some exciting soccer later on today that I'm looking forward to. I believe starting at 3 in the PM, we will have Copa America. First will be Panama versus the United States of America. And then at 6 o'clock, we will have Uruguay versus Bolivia. That'll be exciting. So I guess I will stream. Well, maximum I'll stream till it's 3 o'clock. I might end it a little before then, but I might not. And now let me look at this headline. Clean Spark's $150 million, $5 million acquisition of grid infrastructure highlights Bitcoin miners' struggles. What? Leading Bitcoin miner CleanSpark has announced the acquisition of rival company Grid Infrastructure for $155 million in a 100% stock deal. The transaction highlights the consolidation among Bitcoin miners amid the lower revenue trend. Okay. Now, Cardano is at 39 cents. It's a good time to buy Cardano again. It's back down to 39 cents. But I don't think it's really a good time to buy crypto in general. Why all good people removed from government? I want neither Trump nor Biden, but if I had to if you're asking me which would I be even more disappointed when they get elected, I'd be more disappointed to see Biden get elected. But I'll be disappointed regardless. I'll be just inclined to shake my head and go like this. No, 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 no. I don't want to know what's going on. It's just gonna make me mad or sad, bad or glad. Why do you want me to search for it? Former Prime Minister of Pakistan? Well, I don't hate the Pakistanis increasing, like the good thing about Pakistan, the bad thing about Pakistan is there's still kind of like a military junta or whatever. Huh. Well, unfortunately, I guess Pakistan is not as secular a place as we'd like it to be because, in fact, currently for breach of Islamic marriage laws. So that's too bad. I'd hoped that Pakistan would be a little more secular and a little less Islamic in its expression of things, but that's what we get for. That's what the West gets for fucking with the Middle East so much that we created this whole generation of extremists. Robert Kennedy for president? Sure. I mean, obviously, I'd prefer Robert Kennedy over Trump or Biden. I basically prefer anybody over Trump or Biden. But the person we need to be president, obviously, is me, and I'm not running right now. So we just have to kind of hold our just hold our wieners till we get till we get home to the wife. I've been to Pakistani, but I've never been to me. Okay, sounds good. What if you don't have wieners? Then just clap your cheeks together with both of your hands and squeeze tight till Tuesday. That's what, Lightbow. Is your baby out of your body yet? Or is it still inside of your body? Remember, Lightbow, the following thing is you're getting ready for childbirth. You still have a baby inside of you. If you still have a baby inside of you, remember that there are a lot of behavioral problems, other problems, etc., that happen when childbirth is very hard. It takes a lot of hours. So, if in fact you're having a very difficult childbirth, you'd be well served to just say, C section me. Because you don't want your kid to endure some of the challenges, unnecessary challenges in life, some of which correlate very strongly with the difficulty of childbirth. Honestly, USA destroy a lot of countries and cultures. Well, you're not wrong. Um, we really mucked around in South America quite a bit. we've been less involved in mucking around in Africa than some other places have been scheduled. Oh, you're getting a C-section no matter what because Cassius Clay is sitting totally transverse. I assume transverse is not good. I don't know that much about childbirth. I do know that my child, Delilah, she popped right out of that womb like um like a greased pig through the arms of a toddler. Is that a good analogy? Anyway, Delilah was like, Melinda was like, my water broke. I'm like, okay, let's go to the hospital. It was traffic time. Her water broke at the worst possible time, 5 p.m. Heading that way, heading heading east on the 10. Oh God, we didn't have very far to go. We just had to go from Temple City to West Covina, Queen of the Valley Hospital. But we were just stop and go the whole way. So we maybe sat in the car for 45 minutes getting to the hospital. And then when we got her up to the place where they deliver the babies, obstetrics, is that what it's called? I don't know. The nurse didn't believe her calculations. They tried to measure how dilated Melinda's cervix was, but they didn't believe how dilated it was. Like, that can't be right. You're moving around too much. Finally, they realized it was right. She was that dilated. And they said, we need a doctor in here right now. Let's go. They put her on the table. And bada bing, bada boom. She was like, oh no, it hurts so much. And she said, pray for me. She told me that. I just laughed at her. I was like, okay. Because I wasn't religious at all at the time. I didn't, I didn't pray for her. And I thought it was a silly request. Yeah, we didn't get along that well. And then, after the baby was born, I carried the baby to the room with the boxes. So after your baby's born, they take your baby and they put it in this box in this room full of boxes with babies in them. So I carried the baby in there. And then Melinda, she had gotten an epidural, I guess. I'm not sure. She was all like doped up, afterwards. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go home. I'll see you in the morning. And she's like, no, stay with me all night. I am not going to sit in this chair all night for no reason. I will go home. I will pull bong rips. I'll be back in the morning. She was all like, wee about it. Like, shut up, bitch. You're fine. Your mom's here. Just get over it. Can you believe that, bitch? Why should I have to be uncomfortable all night when she's just going to be all asleep and doped up all night? Why should I have to sit in a chair there? Makes no sense. Obviously, I went home. I needed to pull bong rips. I wasn't going to just spend the whole night in the hospital pulling no bong rips, just being uncomfortable. Is that why order rat tank fun full of what? Well, that one turned out to be a bit of a SLUT. So could have been any number of penises prior to mine that dilated her. Like, but it wasn't a good marriage, okay? We were not well suited for each other at all. Dad, we hit ludicrous speed. I think they're gonna go play plaid. Oh well, I mean, but she ended up cheating on me. So as far as I'm concerned, mother of my child or not, she's just a worthless whore. Okay, who deserves nothing but endless shaming and condemnation because she's such a whore. No, it wasn't a very loving relationship Jeremiah fixed. Obviously, she was a bitch. And I was not a good partner either, you know. I should never have gotten with somebody who I didn't really like just because I wanted them to bear me a child. But Dad, you pushed me away because you love me. Do you think Cassius Clay can sense the profanity I'm hearing through these AirPods? No. Cassius Clay, I want to direct these words to you, okay? You are the one. You are the future. You are the one who'll make a better day. So let's start giving. I think Cassius Clay was, first of all, it's a more awesome name than Muhammad Ali. Let's just admit that. Cassius Clay is not like he was a bland named person. It's not like he was, there was another boxer from the past named John Johnson. John Johnson wants to become Muhammad Ali, fine. What are we losing? We're losing to John Johnson. Who cares? In terms of cool names. But Cassius Clay, I I mean, that's one of the coolest names of all time. And then you want to trade that in. I don't mind Lou Alcindor changing his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Lou Alcindor is a pretty dumb name, right? But Cassius Clay, and Cassius Clay being, Muhammad Ali, being that much of a badass, and being that pretty too. Talk about just having it all going on. Cassius Clay had it all going on. Smoking Joe Frazier did not have it all going on. He did not have the cleverness. He didn't have the ideation. You got to give Muhammad Ali a lot of credit, though, for refusing to participate in Vietnam. And despite the fact that it cost him a large chunk of his best fighting years. The thing is, part of me is kind of split on that. Like, you know, like it or not, you're an American, and America's chosen to do this fucked up shit. However, certainly you could argue that it was so horrifically ill advised and such a appalling holocaust of human rights violations that I don't know. It's tough being a patriot and a correctist. Sometimes those things run afoul of each other. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Every time you hear anybody hears the word Frazier, I bet a good portion of them are inclined to say, "Down goes Frazier." So it turns out that either 35% of people are deluded or 35% of people are healthy, depending on which way you look at it. I'm going to repeat my message for everyone. There's nothing wrong with you. And also, I, assuming you believe there's something probably wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you. If you truly believe there's nothing wrong with you, there is something wrong with you probably. If you believe that you never are at fault, you never need to say you're sorry, there's definitely something wrong with you. That's called accountability avoidance disorder. But if you are human, you know, which means probably you believe yourself inadequate to any number of different things, then there's nothing wrong with you. Did the fruit of the loom have the cornucopia? It sure seems to me like it did. But, I also remember very clearly that in my childhood, Australia was not considered a continent. But now it is. What's up with that? Who would be manipulating us with the Mandela effect? Are there some parties out there who know the truth and are keeping it hidden? Seems unlikely. What I'm curious about is actually this. I forgot when I started the stream, but I was actually planning on, from yesterday, titling the next stream I did something like this. Have you ever had a prophetic dream? In other words, you ever dreamed something that came true? I was watching this YouTube video yesterday about dreaming and stuff, and apparently there was a study done where they were testing to see whether dreams could maybe tell the future or something. And I haven't confirmed the legitimacy of this study. It's just something mentioned in a YouTube video, so it could just be bullshit. But apparently, the test they did was this: the researchers put into a box without the study participants knowing a bunch of slips of paper with different activities on it. Could be juggling, could be dancing, could be playing, yeah, whatever. And then they told the participants in the study that tomorrow they're going to do an activity with the participants and to dream about that if they could. Then what they do in the study is they wake them up during REM sleep to ask them what they're dreaming about, and then they write that down. Okay, so at a rate that was a lot higher than could be explained by just random, at statistically significant levels, people were able to dream what they were going to do the next day, even though it hadn't been chosen yet. Like the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico are American U.S. territories. Yeah, we love territories. They're very territorial. I once had a dream about a tornado only to wake up to my roof being ripped off. I once got subjected to a dream study and they never paid me. They told me I didn't reach the qualifications, but they made me go through the whole study. Well, that's bullshit. So I can't recall any specific dream that came true, but I can remember dreams that were clearly a message that I didn't listen to. Like I had this horrible dream before I married my first wife that I was marrying this horrible person that wasn't my wife, that I knew was horrible, that I despised. And I didn't learn anything from my dream. My dream did everything it could to tell me, don't do this, Eric. Leave this bitch. But I'm glad I married her after all, because she ended up producing my child. And obviously I loved Delilah very much and would never choose a reality in which I don't have her. No one you know, Eric, is giving you a message. No, I knew the person. And I knew I hated them. That's why we say skibbity toilet. We said skibbity bop back in the 90s. Dreams can come true. It may happen to you. It's likely that my brain was processing external sensory data while sleeping. I mean, yeah, I think that's happened probably to everybody, where like there's a car alarm going on outside and it enters your dream as some sort of beep, beep, beep. This happens a lot with audio stuff. Gets incorporated into my dreams. But that's not prophetic. Like I dreamed last night that about my old friend that I haven't thought about in years from college, Nikki Selmo. That's some lady I knew in college. Uh, and then I ran into her at the store today. Like that would count as a prophetic dream. What's up, dude? How you doing, Big G? I'm doing quite well, thank you, CKOLP. CKOLP. I have a lot of sex in my dreams, says Orat Tang Fun Full Wat. And does when you have sex in your dream, do you then end up having sex the next day? That I don't know would count that. I don't think I would count that as prophetic because if you dream of sex a lot and occasionally you actually have it, then it's just incidental, not prophecy. Look, we're not playing who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third, okay? Okay, fine. We won't play that. Beckett Audley says, what? Indeed. Who, what, when, and where, plus why, and how, comprise all the different questions you might ask. I wonder if that is where deja vu derives from. Oh, derives from what? Beckett Audley says, you yappy, you yapping. I am yapping, Beckett Audley, because this is a talking live stream. There are some people who might live stream, say, a feed from outside. You just can pleasantly watch nature go by or something. This is not such a stream. Hi, Jess Colonel. In this stream, I provide you a nonstop flow of talking for you to listen to, enjoy, hear, and use however you wish. Whether it's to fill your ears with noise or to hear the meaning of important words. Either way, you're fine. Deja vu comes from an imbalance in brain activities between the left and right sides. Oh, well, all day I dream about sexy. That's what Adidas means? It's interesting. I never knew that. KFC or Chick-fil-A? Well, Popeyes. Can I choose Popeyes instead? I like Popeyes. Popeyes has the best biscuits. They're super salty. Chick-fil-A, it just is for their sandwiches, you know. It's not a full service chicken restaurant. All night, dream about sex all night. All right, all night. Let's go water the plants, shall we? If you want to know the truth about meow, then you can start to go meow. All right, so now we're looking at our plants. How are you doing? Would you like a watering? Sure you would. You're a plant. Plants love water. Where there is water, there is life. Okay, that's filling up fine. It's being a bit of a slow boat to China, you know. Filling it up a little with the water turned not all the way up. Gives it a little more water because, you know, it takes a little longer to fill up all the way, giving it more chance to soak in before it's all the way full. And you can tell when it's all the way full when it starts coming out the other side of the hill. I made a little mound around it, you know. Mound of dirt. So, yeah, we're really getting a lot of water there on that plant. And good for it, you know. But now I'm starting to feel a little bit impatient. Are they telling me to give them cutlets? Is that what's going on here? Alright, you cutlet-loving fiends. I'll give you some cutlets. Fine. Alright, let's go give some cutlets real quick. Well, that's watering. Well, let's just see. This door's open. This door's not open then. It is open. Good for it. And good for us. Now we'll open the garage door. We'll get this bag of cutlets. We'll put them on the wall real quick. And then we'll all right, now let's go back to our watering and put it onto the next plant. It's called multitaskaroo. All right, that plant's full of water now. Back just in the nick of time. It just started to spill over the edge. Now we'll put it on this one. Can you see? The ones that got transplanted last are substantially smaller than the ones that got transplanted a week or so beforehand. These ones are bigger. That's actually two different plants right there. Well, we'll see how everything turns out. We're going to have to wait until probably fairly mid-October, late October before we can do a full harvest. I did top most of these. There's no way I could have topped them too late. But nevertheless, I'm concerned about that. And I keep telling myself, it's impossible. I just barely passed the longest day of the year. From this point forward, the days get shorter. And as the days get shorter, the plants are going, all right, cool. We're going to need to start budding, in a month or two. Figure maybe they start budding into July. Maybe start August. Give them 2 full months plus to finish budding. We should have quite a nice little harvest come the fall. I was originally planning on keeping a couple of plants in pots so I could start budding them early. But with how quickly time passes these days, I just said, you know what? I'll just wait. Just be patient. Oh, it's Rachel. Hi, darling. How's it going?
Good. How's it going for you?
Fine. Just doing a little water into the plants.
Oh, good. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, they like water. It's their favorite beverage.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, good.
Right?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's fine. I'm about done out here. I'll be back inside.
Okay.
I just got one more plant to water.
Cool. All right. Cool.
There's my beautiful wife, Rachel. Being her lovely, wonderful self. It is quite warm out here today. So I'm guessing the plants appreciate the extra water. This one, of course, doesn't fill up really because I planted this one better than I planted the other ones. This has no mix of clay and soil. It's planted all in soil for a fair distance down. This plant's going to have to grow quite a bit before it starts getting into all the clay around here. Since there's no clay right in this little area, the water just goes right down like it's supposed to. Whereas if you look at one where it's maximally clayed out, this one, it still hasn't begun draining down very much. That one's all drained already. So good. We're done with that. We'll go back inside. I'll read the chat. We'll see what's going on. And together we'll live a dream that only dreamers ever once thought they could dream. But now that everyone knows is possible thanks to Talking with Famous People. The place where dreams are born and attain reality. Why do I want to reincarnate as a woman? Well, because it's something it's something that I can't be right now. I could be any race right now. I can be any age. But the truth is, I'm definitely a man and I'm not at all a woman. That's not really arbitrary. So to have the other experience of being human, I'd have to be a woman. Is there any problem with putting two plants together? Probably they won't. Um, Probably they won't be quite as robust as if they were planted separately. I didn't purposefully do that. I just somehow when I was initially putting the seeds in the seedling starters, one of the seedlings from one of the starters went over into the other one. But I must have accidentally, when watering it, must have washed over or something. So then once they were sprouted so close together, I didn't want to try to separate them. So I just put them together like that. I want to be a big slut. I don't know if I'd be a big slut or not. I guess it would depend on my inclinations as a woman. No, none of my neighbors are going to take the plant just before I'm about to. We don't live in that kind of a place. She's a happy. Beckett, oddly, you're getting timed out for spamming. Rachel is a ghost? I don't think Rachel's a ghost. Time moves so rapidly, I have trouble keeping up with it. Time moves so rapidly that I'm not thinking like, oh my God, harvest time's so far away. I'm thinking, wow, it's already the end of June. They vegged. Yeah, they're in vegetative state. That's what you mean. Still, it doesn't let me donate Bitcoin. Damn, they vegged like crazy already. It's starting to. You have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, well, that's tricky. Can you take me out on a date when I reincarnate? Well, it's assuming we reincarnate as similar. You'd probably have to die and be reincarnated around the same time I did for us both to make that happen in the next life. And you'd have to be reincarnated as a guy. Because, like, let's say, even if I were to die tomorrow, how old are you, Casey Jones? You have to wait till I was at least 18 to hump me. Blue Elvis draw. Sup, brother? Hope all is well. Everything's quite good. Yes, I feel happy. I feel pleased. I feel like bouncing both my knees. Um, Maybe Rachel and I will go to the store today. I'm not sure. There's a soccer game that starts at 3 o'clock that I want to watch. Namely, U.S. versus Panama. Panama. Boom, boom, na, na, na. No, that's the point. Or rat tang fun full. That's why I said in the next life I'd like to be a woman, because no matter what I do, it is not possible for me to be a woman in this lifetime. Eric, they say after you pass your brain goes through an electric discharge or some type of mapping. Do you think that's people life repeating in dream state? I'm not sure what it is. Oh, sorry, Natasha. Let me unhide you. Rachel didn't do that on purpose. She did not mean to hide you for saying hey. Hey, smiley face. How dare you say hey, smiley face to me? Like aliens gathering data. Weird to think about it. I mean, the thing is, it's odd that humans have anything that happens in their brain at death, right? Because if we were to accept any kind of like evolution explanation for species coming about, there's no possible advantage to having this or that happen at death, right? There's no conceivable way for that to be selected for. It has no conceivable utility in terms of reproductive success or effectiveness as a genome or a species or anything. Can you just consider doing a few drag shows to see how no or rat tang fun full wat? Or rat tang fun full wat is obsessed by the fact that when asked what I'd like to be reincarnated as in my next life, first I said a person, and I said, well, a woman more specifically, because that's one thing I can't be in this life no matter what I try. I can be whatever race I want, whatever age. I've been all the ages up through 53. I can learn to speak other languages. I could move to another country and get citizenship there in theory. But one thing I could not do no matter what I did, I could never be a woman.
No, it's true.
The most I could ever conceivably do is be a trans woman, which means it's a man who's trying to be more like a woman. I would never want to do that. I'll just wait till my next life when I'll once again be a woman. I believe I was a woman in previous lives as well.
Oh, 100%.
More often than a man. I think this is kind of a rare life that
You
I'm a man.
definitely were a man at some points, but you definitely had more lives as a woman.
Yeah, that's why I'm so into cheerleading.
It's crazy how good you are at it.
I wonder, like, you know that cheer we do for the age where I go, let athletics. I say, let's go athletics. I say, let's go athletics. You're gonna end that losing streak. End that losing streak. Like, that's a great cheer. Did I steal that from some other cheer?
No, you freaking made it up.
I don't think I've been thinking about it. Like, oh, I'm sure that's some other cheer that I've heard someplace, but I don't think it is. I think I made up that cheer.
You made that up. Like, we were the only, like, we made it up when we were at a game, I think. And you just came up with it. You just came out, it was like one of your songs. Like,
right, yeah. It's weird, huh? Because what I've realized since I do that is that it doesn't work with very many team names at all.
No.
Like, it works with athletics because it's
Dodgers.
athletics,
Yeah.
right? So it's cup dash cup, so there's accents. There aren't many teams that have that. Like,
you can't do Dodgers.
No, you can't do it with any 2-syllable. It needs to be 3-syllable. It needs to be cup dash cup. There aren't very many teams that have that. So it's like, like even Buccaneers, that's what 3-syllable, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it goes accent, unaccent, accent, so it doesn't work either. It has to be athletics, you know. Bum, bum, bum. I hope Rachel is well. I still have a paper where she's listed me as land ox. You're a land ox.
That's cool. You're an ox. Were you born in 1985? Is that what you're talking about? I could find out your whole thing. Like,
I'm a dirt pig.
I could find out your 4 pillars in Chinese astrology for you. You are a dirt pig, right? Well, you're technically a metal pig, but we have.
Yes, I've chosen. See, this is one of the other things, right? In my next life, I could be a different animal in Chinese astrology, but in this life, I could pick whichever one I want to anyway. I don't have to be a metal pig. I could say I'm a dirt pig, as I do, or I could even say this: I'm a dirt boar. BOAR, not BORE. Casey Jones, you're a dragon.
AI makes you a metal pig. That you can't really make. Here's the thing: you can't really make yourself anything. The animals go by like the year that you were born, unless your birthday is in the beginning of the year, January, February. Then it could change to something else. Like, it'll take on. You'll be the sign of the year before. Oh, so then yeah, maybe you are.
My next life, I would like to be a boomer. I want to be born a boomer. Now, that would be quite an accomplishment. If one person of the next generation somehow carried with them baby boomer as their generation.
Why not? Yo, we need some baby boomerish in the future, right?
I just from birth, as I let's say in 30 years I'm reborn as baby boomer. From birth, I'd be like somebody who spent most of their life without computers. Be like, what is this email? And people would not understand what's wrong with me until finally a wise doctor diagnosed me as a baby boomer.
Yeah, like you'll have well, it depends if you're a woman or a male. If you're a woman, you'll have a proficiency of taking care of the home, cooking, having babies.
I believe Woodstock was the greatest event ever.
Yeah. I'm thinking of you as an older baby boomer. So the baby boomer actually grew up. So you're more 60s.
Right. So okay. the thing is, I'll be born even as a toddler. I'll be saying things like, "It's nothing like Woodstock was." Or I could be born silent generation and just be like, what do you mean you can't make it? Property's dirt cheap and our wages and salaries are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't make it?
Meow.
Poor Hendrix had to play the last sets of the show when 70% of the people had left. But you know what? I bet many of those 70% of the people who left claimed they were part of the 30% of the people who stayed behind. You're a fire rabbit, Casey Jones. Fire rabbits are known as the fastest rabbits because, of course, nothing makes a rabbit run faster than it being on fire. In the future, there will be just one gender. That's not true. Biologically, people will always either have a Y chromosome or not. My point is I have one this life. Ergo, I have an Adam's apple, and I have a wiener. I have this foldy thing that elongates and crunches up called my scrotum, which it regulates the temperature of my testicles. Who do you think was best performance at Woodstock? Santana, Jefferson Airplane? The best performance at Woodstock was definitely Country Joe and the Fish. Mad Monk says extra ribs. Are you saying you have extra ribs in your chest? One gender is better than 100. Prove me wrong. No, 100 is better than one. Because 100 could be 100 different shades of male and female. One has to ignore the fact that there are, in fact, two sexes. And yes, there are, in fact, two sexes. Yeah, somebody showed me a meme. I don't remember how I saw this, but it said, if scientists were coming up with dinosaur names today, it'd be like Skibbity Lizard Little Arms.
Are you hungry? Would you like a cup of noodles?
No, I'm not hungry. I don't want a cup of noodles. Thank you for offering though. I appreciate it. Limp Bizkit was the best show at Woodstock.
That Woodstock?
If you kids want to see a real show, you'd have seen Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit. They did it all for the nookie.
I like it Limp Bizkit better.
I am so impressed with Johnny's TikTok jingle.
Wasn't it so good? I can't believe that he even made it. It was like, I had no idea.
And did TikTok hire him to make that?
Yeah. Huh. No, not TikTok. TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. I think they did. Yeah. He first showed a song, the TikTok song that they rejected, and then he showed the one that he made.
And was the one they rejected worse?
No, it was good.
It was good too?
Yeah, it was just more like mellow.
Two sexes, anal and missionary. All right, just keep your wiener out of buttholes, okay? There's no reason to put your wiener in anybody's butthole. Blue Elvis Draw says, I hooked up with a chick that had little arms and I felt like I was smashing a T-Rex. She didn't tell me about her little arms until I got to her house. That's the strangest story I've heard in a while, Blue Elvis Draw. Mm-hmm. Did I mention I got little teeny arms? No, you didn't mention that. Maybe she was part T-Rex. So it's 2:33. We're closing in on kickoff of this soccer game. Do I know Jeffrey Epstein? Mm-hmm. No, I know about him. I know he's dead and that he definitely did not kill himself.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know it's really, really difficult to like type someone who you don't actually type in person, or on screen. But do you think he's a Bipolar?
Who, Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's ENFJ.
Yeah, I do too.
O.J. Simpson says he went to high school with him. Really? When people ask if you want dark or white meat chicken, I'm like, WTF are you even talking about? It's usually asked about turkey more than chicken. Turkey has more clearly defined portions that are dark meat.
Wow.
What?
I'm reading a Johnny thing. He's going independent. He quit the label.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he say why?
He wants to be an independent artist again.
Huh.
Because he didn't like how, the time, he didn't like the pressure of having to make music at a certain time.
Sure. Who's winning the debate tonight? I don't think either of them will win because it's not really a debate. I don't know who killed Jeffrey Epstein. I just don't believe he killed himself.
That's a good way of putting it. I don't know who killed Jeffrey Epstein, but I know he didn't kill himself. I think that's pretty accurate. Oh, just look at her face.
He was, how old was he? 50 plus 16, he was 66. He died in his jail cell on August 10th, 2019. The medical examiner ruled that his death was a suicide by hanging. Epstein's lawyers have disputed the ruling, and there has been significant public skepticism about the true cause of his death, resulting in numerous conspiracy theories. Only 29% of U.S. adults believed Epstein actually committed suicide, whereas 42% thought he was murdered to prevent him from testifying, and 29% were undecided. An August 27th hearing Epstein attorney Reed Weingarten expressed significant doubts that Epstein's death was due to suicide. According to Weingarten, when attorneys met with their client shortly before his death, we did not see a despairing, despondent, suicidal person. Epstein's brother Mark has rejected the possibility of his suicide, claiming, I could see if he got a life sentence, I could see him then taking himself out, but he had a bail hearing coming up. He also claims his life may be in danger if Epstein was indeed murdered. In a press conference about 2 months after the death, de Blasio declined to endorse Chief Medical Examiner Sampson's conclusion, saying, something doesn't fit here. It just doesn't make sense that the highest profile prisoner in America, someone forgot to guard him. Former U.S. Attorney and State Judiciary Committee counsel Brett Tolman said the death was more than coincidental, considering Epstein's many connections to powerful people.
I could be out.
And there are plenty of people who believe he not only didn't kill himself, but that he's still alive. E.g., the removal of his cellmate without a replacement, possession of banned objects, and the falling asleep of 2 guards who were meant to check on him. Within the MCC, Epstein was placed in a special housing unit to protect him from violence by inmates and the general population. The letter was written in ballpoint pen, despite the fact that no prisoners, especially those on suicide watch, were allowed to have one under jail protocol. Their desk was about 15 feet away from Epstein's cell, up a flight of stairs and through a locked gate. Epstein's possession of a bedsheet would have been against jail protocol when he was under suicide watch, but at the time of his death, he was only under supervision and therefore allowed it. But he supposedly wrote a suicide note with a ballpoint pen in his jail cell. You've got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Totally ridiculous. Yeah, plenty of people believe he's still alive. OJ says he's in hell with me and Michael Jackson. There's plenty of good reason to believe that OJ Simpson did not kill Nicole Brown Simpson, but rather that his son did, and that he covered for him. What's good, mofos, says Jack Ripper.
Yeah, honestly, that was so convincing.
It was so convincing, yeah.
It made a lot of sense too. Very interesting.
What did the note say? I don't know what Jeffrey Epstein's suicide note said. CK Ulp is back. I'm doing fine. We're just killing a little time, maybe till the SARC game starts. I don't think it's impossible that Jeffrey Epstein's still alive, but I would say this. It just makes much more sense that rather than facilitate hiding him, powerful people would just have him taken out, Dead men tell no tales. Whereas living men in hiding do, potentially. The only leverage, presumably, Jeffrey Epstein had over all these powerful people was extortion materials. Trouble?
No.
Trouble. If you, Casey Jones, if you and a bunch of other super powerful people were on this, were subject to extortion by Jeffrey Epstein, and he were in jail, why wouldn't you just off him rather than help him hide? it doesn't seem to me that once he's in jail um, and has his public reputation has been tarnished beyond any redemption, that everybody just thinks of him as a sexual predator and like Jeffrey Weinstein, you know. The thing is, you'll notice Weinstein is not getting away with his shit, right? And he's also he also doesn't have a bunch of dirt on other people, probably. So I don't know. I find it hard to believe that people that he's threatening to extort with dirt on them would be sympathetic enough to keep him alive. Weinstein was released on a mistrial? Are they going to retry him? I'm sure they'll retry him. Even if he was released on a mistrial, they'll retry him. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know what's the deal with the ultra rich, but as I've looked into it a bit more, it seems as though they're a very wild and hedonistic bunch. Like, it doesn't matter how ultra rich I got. If I were to be a billionaire or something, it wouldn't make me want to hump a bunch of people, right? It might make me want to get a bunch of drugs, different drugs and stuff. Oh, that's not how you get rich, okay? You don't get rich or a rat tank on full by being super hedonistic. Hedonism costs money. You get super rich by being good at getting super rich, I guess, or by being born into the right family or something. But like, I'm sure Bill Gates, prior to becoming super rich and famous and powerful via Microsoft, I seriously doubt he was hanging out on Sex Predator Island or something. Right, but drugs are a fine flavor of hedonism because there are lots of different drugs and you can find the ones that work well for you. Sex is always the same. It's just putting a stick in a hole. No, they don't. That's not true. I most like to have sex when I'm not on any drugs, really. Sometimes when I'm on Adderall. But I wish I could make enough to survive. In this economy, younger generation doesn't have a chance. I agree with you, Viper 007. This is a this is a scary moment in history. It's an exciting or an interesting moment in history and a scary moment in history. And for those of you who are young, coming of age, post COVID, post 9/11, post truth, we live in a post truth reality. How's Tiffany? Tiffany's doing great, Berg. Thanks for asking. What's scary? I'm back, bitches. Natasha is back. It's only scary if you're trying to be successful or safe, you know. You need a certain amount of success to be safe. Sex is not always the same. Sex with a loving partner is different than sex with a stranger from a bar, which is different from glory hole sex. Okay, well, I agree with you that the context matters, right? So that would be saying something like sex is like acid. It's really all about the the other person, the context, the expectations, the setting, all that kind of stuff, right? But it's not like drugs because not all drugs are like that. Glory hole sex is when one puts their penis through a hole in like a wall and cannot see what's on the other side and just gets serviced accordingly. I've never obviously engaged in such, but I do know what it means. No, I'm not excited for the debate tonight. I'm not going to watch the debate tonight, Putty Cat. I'm going to sex is pleasurable, so is leaving a dump. I agree. I had a nice big poop this morning. I was sleeping in. I did a wonderful sleeping in today. I slept all the way in to like 11:30. But around 11 a.m., I guess it was, my stomach was hurting. I was gurgling. And I got up and I was just like, big colon flow. Thank goodness. I'm empty of poo. Drink beer, sir, or close stream, thanks. This is not beer. This is brisk iced tea. I don't find the desecration of our citizen democracy amusing. I'm kind of emotional about the country, about my patriotism. You know, I was raised long enough ago that I believed in an America that probably never was. You know, it's like when I was a kid, my dad taught me that, for example, the Supreme Court is a great institution because they uphold the right of the Nazis to march in Skokie, Illinois. Even though we don't like the Nazis, we understand that the right to free speech is only truly respected when we respect it for those whose speech we do not like. I was raised with all kinds of notions like that about what America was, what rights were, what it meant to live in a free and civil society, how important it was. My dad was obviously dismayed by the state of the country before he died, but sometimes he was just confused by it. Like, and this is somebody who was extremely knowledgeable about politics and stuff, but I remember he wasn't really aware of how the ACA worked. I had to explain to him. It actually makes more sense to not get health insurance, Dad, because you just wait till you get sick and then you can get insurance then, and they're required to provide it to you regarding the list of your pre-existing conditions. My dad's like, how the hell does that work? I'm like, I don't know about that, Dad. I don't know how it works from a market sense. And he's saying, from a personal interest sense, it makes no sense to get health insurance accordingly. They're going to make horrible laws and people are going to behave accordingly. Oh yeah, I'll participate in as many debates as I possibly can, Putty Cat. And I'll do my best to make them actual debates rather than taking turns spewing stupid talking points. Yeah, my dad was somebody who, right up to the end of his life, I could learn things about politics from him. I could have my understanding of things improved by talking with him. That's how smart he was about politics. Hello Friend says Biden or Trump. I'm not planning to vote for either of them. But Dylan Weaver says they weren't going to give me any for my cancers until they also found renal. If I were to vote for one, I would probably, if I had to, at gunpoint vote for one, I'd vote for Trump. I'd be more frustrated. I'm going to be extremely frustrated no matter which of those two fucking old fucks wins, but I'd be probably more unhappy if Biden wins. Now, keep in mind, last election, I thought, okay, Biden's got to be better than Trump. I was wrong. Biden has turned out to be worse than Trump. I'd rather have ham-fisted idiot who at least has a vision and executes it and isn't weak than a no-fisted idiot with no vision and just endless weakness. And that's neglecting, that's not even addressing the mental acuity thing. Forget that for a second. You just pretend they're both mentally fit. Biden is weak, visionless, and a non-leader. Trump's a bad leader, but at least he's a leader. I bet the over on Biden's use of the word indictment, over 6.5. Bet Putin would be the first other politician mentioned by either candidate. Probably correct. Who else could it be besides? Obviously, I don't want either Hitler or Osama bin Laden. Can you not just repeat your question endlessly? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and this is something I learned from my dad, right? I was really anti-Trump during his administration. And one thing I learned from my dad is that one of the good things that Trump did was get us out of a bunch of international agreements that we shouldn't have been in the first place. But even forgetting senility, okay? I think Trump's going a little senile too, but forget about even that. With Biden, you basically get a Kamala Harris administration, which is scared to do something wrong. You can't have a president who's constantly scared to do something wrong. Putin, Netanyahu. I mean, Netanyahu is the other good choice, right? But I think probably Putin's the best bet. I think he made a good bet. Orwarat, stop trolling, says 16. Is Orwarat trolling? Have you seen the movie where the guy uses a glory hole and then finds out it was the sun? Oh, God. Ew. Orwarat, that is the... Why did I read that? Why did I read that? Right. Well, Biden's not just a career politician. He's a career bureaucrat. He's from the same school of governance as Hillary Clinton. That everything's a matter for the government, and what we need are just more bureaucratic things to make everything fine. Right. We don't even have any head coaches of sports teams that old. Granted, Pete Carroll in the 70s, he just got fired by the Seattle Seahawks, which I think was stupid of them. He should leave the Seahawks, go coach a different team. He's still perfectly capable of coaching. Probably not so much in his 80s, though. So, hopefully, and see, in part, what we have here is a problem where you've got one person who's a career politician, has no idea of what it means to actually engage in a citizen democracy first and foremost as a citizen, just like as an individual businessman, for example. Trump, on the other hand, is somebody who has all that business stuff, life experience, not been a politician, but also has accordingly no understanding of civics, no understanding of the habits and institutions of democracy and the value that they serve. So, yeah. That's good logic, that boy Klaus. Since both candidates love Israel, both will be hesitant to bring up. Both of them are going to want to avoid the topic of Israel entirely then, because I think the majority are leaning anti-Israel these days. Top of the day to you, Eric and Lady Rachel. What is your problem? And yes, I have had prophetic dreams. I've also had real visions of events to come, and they did happen. You know, a lot of people report that. 51% in this poll.
I've never had a prophetic dream, which is good.
I mean, I can't think of any specific prophetic dream I've had, but I also am aware that I've never been looking for that, right? I've never been looking for what a linkage to, like, I dreamed a lot about birds last night, and then today a bunch of birds attacked me. Eric, what do you think about the Met Gala? I think it's an event in New York where people get dressed up and they go to the museum. I'm not sure what they do at the museum. I guess they just look at art or what.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they have gala apples. Forget civil, though. That's not the problem I have with Trump. It's not that he's not being civil. I don't mind him being as harsh in his rhetoric as possible. It's that he doesn't care about words, you know? Like, he doesn't think it's his responsibility to explain himself in ways that everybody can understand and evaluate. 100%. He says talk is cheap. You been dreaming about me? What have you been dreaming about? About me, in my karate? I do have a lot of karate. Casey Jones says, I had a dream where someone said something, then later in the day, somebody said that same thing. Well, if it was hello, I'm not that impressed. I had a dream I was eating a marshmallow and woke up with a pillow in my mouth. That's a lot more common, where you have sensory data coming in from the outside getting incorporated into your dream. That happens with me with sounds. Well, it hasn't happened in a while, maybe, but it used to. Is this locked or something? I really do think it's going to help a lot. It's only going to be 4 years, but 4 years with me as president should help a lot.
Yeah, has anyone had that prophetic dream? I think that's a useful prophetic dream.
Yeah. Everybody who can dream prophecy, dream of me being president to make it prophecy.
Yeah.
I had a dream I was a cow and fell into a black hole. And then the next day you turned into a cow and fell into a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. You know that black holes were predicted mathematically based on Einstein's general theory of relativity and all the specific equations that make it up, that make up that whole general theory. Because there's a bunch of specific equations, and some other like super genius guy read Einstein's work and like presented some solutions or strategies for some of those extra equations, and it predicted that there would be black holes. Then they discovered black holes, but it also predicted that there were white holes. White holes are some spot in the universe where shit from the black hole just spews out, right? But we haven't found any white holes yet. Isn't that interesting? Has anybody ever even heard of white holes before?
No.
I hadn't heard about them until this video I watched yesterday.
You've been on a roll with like really good YouTubes that you've watched lately.
Well, I've been trying to find like kind of conspiracy shit, but instead I keep ending up with videos that are not conspiracy things that are like they have kind of a conspiracy-ish sounding title, but just turn out to be fairly straightforward explications of math, science stuff, which tend to keep my interest pretty well.
That's good. That was interesting.
Well, we can conclude that black holes do exist. Now, whether or not they work to create wormholes is another question. It's generally considered that no, they don't, because to the extent that phenomenon is it's like to the extent that such a thing would open, it would collapse again almost instantly, and there's no possible way anybody could travel through it. This is in that same video. One theory is that white holes rule the universe, but that would be kind of a racist conspiracy. But the thing is, you could conceive of a model of the universe where instead of the Big Bang, the universe's origins go back to a white hole, a massive white hole that abruptly, like in some other universe, there's a huge collapse of heavy gravity shit, creates this massive black hole that sucks in an entire universe's worth of shit and then spits it all out the white hole. Listen, black holes and white holes can get along just fine. In fact, they always do. Anyway, according to this theory, you can't really have a black hole without a white hole. So, oh, thanks, that boy Klaus. That's what I was waiting for. A supermassive black hole, if we imagine such a thing, then it would spew out all the other stuff somewhere. All stuff it sucks in somewhere. Where does it spew it out? Maybe here. Maybe this universe is the white hole exhaust of another universe's super big black hole. Now, that's not something that's said from the video I watched, but it's just something I'm positing right now is conceivable, not necessarily correct, but at least plausible. Plausible if there really are white holes. We've never seen one, but we've never seen a black hole. This guy's math predicted it, predicated on Einstein's general theory of relativity, and then it wasn't until much later that we actually we were able to locate them in the actual universe, proving that that guy's math was right and establishing yet another validation of relativity. You're talking about love and marriage? Love and marriage, love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Ask the local gentry, and they may say it's elementary. Yeah, black holes and white holes go together in the sense that if all this shit gets sucked into a black hole, it's got to come out somewhere. So, like, if you were to watch a spaceship flying towards the event horizon of a black hole, I'm sorry, if you were to watch a spaceship moving towards and then beyond the speed of light in terms of its speed of travel, as it hit the speed of light, it would cease to move from your perspective. as it got closer to the speed of light, it would move slower and slower and slower until it completely ceased to move from your perspective. And then instead of getting further away from you and you being unable to see it, it would just fade out into from solid to translucent to nothing. But it would look to be in the same spot from your perspective. And that's because it's complicated. I've only had them when someone in my family was sick, then found them after and saved a few lives because I thought from my dream and what was happening, I needed to check on them, but I don't know why. Well, somebody I forget what the band was called. There was a band that died in a plane crash. And one member of the band had a dream before their plane flight, and it was the most real dream they'd ever had, and the plane was going to crash. And they called all the band people and said, "Don't get on the plane, don't get on the plane," and refused to get on the plane, and then it crashed.
Wow, that's nutty. Yeah. That's like Abraham Lincoln's wife too. She had a prophetic dream that I don't know if that he was gonna get killed or just something bad was gonna happen. And she was like begging him not to go to the theater.
Who? Lincoln's wife?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, she begged him not to go. But of course, some people don't.
Right. Well, I remember I had a psychology teacher in high school say, always trust a woman's intuition. If your wife or girlfriend says, "I have a bad feeling about this," trust her intuition.
Interesting.
That same psychology teacher is the one who said, if you can't go to sleep, just lie there with your eyes closed, because at least then your eyes will be able to rest and you won't have to process visual data.
Wow, that's so smart.
I remember that. I can't recall the band. They were big, though. I could... Mr. Beast was almost in a submarine that went down, but he didn't get in it. Was it the super deep one that was crunched by the pressure related to James Cameron? Trust your gut is not a bad idea. I don't typically have super clear gut feelings like that, right? I by and large don't trust my feelings. Okay, I leave now because I'm useless and not funny at all. Show media. I sewed all my holes shut, but I can still type. That's what I didn't read. Planet X does exist, actually. It's almost for sure. There is another planetary body of planetary size that's affecting the various orbital that better explains existing orbits than without it. And so it almost certainly is out there. It's just we don't know exactly where it is. Two weeks passed and that volcano erupted. At the time, there were tourists visiting the island. Most of them perished horribly. Did you have a dream about that? Is that what happened? Where's Iron Lion's first part? My last vision was about an active volcano we have here in New Zealand we call White Island. I also had another witness at the time who was a girlfriend. It was straight out of a science fiction movie, it seemed like. 2 weeks passed and that volcano erupted. At the time, there were tourists visiting the island. Most of them perished horribly. Huh.
Wow, that's a big one.
I've only had them when someone in my family was sick and found them and saved a few lives because I thought from my dream and what was happening, I needed to check on them, but I don't know why. Is Rachel ready to be the first lady? I don't know. Rachel, are you ready to be the first lady?
Sure.
If you're watching that spaceship, you have good eyes. Could have been a big spaceship and you could have a large telescope. Whichever one had all the rich people. Yeah, that was the one that went deep sea and got crushed. Bronny James just got drafted by the Lakers, huh? I don't think the Lakers did a good job in drafting him. Well, the USA's already winning. Well, that's quick.
That is.
I started at the beginning of the game, so I'm about 5 minutes behind the game, probably. My dad is an ESTP, but is kind of obsessed with SI. Does this make sense? He's very nostalgic and accumulative. I wouldn't say he's ignoring SI so much. I mean, remember, your absolute values are 1, 5, 3, and 7. So NI, truth, concision is an absolute value for me. But you'll see me being quite robust and upholding that value if you narrow your scope enough, right? Hopefully, I'm concise in this answer, and the answer is relevant to the question, and it's the only answer fully relevant to the question, and I'm achieving on a truth level. But the difference between, say, somebody who's not ignoring NI and somebody who is but has it as an absolute value is that if I both were not ignoring it and had it as an absolute value, then this whole live stream would be about one topic, or I'd upload videos about one topic. I'm bouncing all over the place. In any given instance of where I'm bouncing, I try to uphold against introverted intuition, though, because that's what makes something communicatively purposeful. It makes it something specific and not something else, etc. It's having a vision. So I do have a vision. The problem is I have too many visions, and NI means I should have fewer. So I'm ignoring NI in that regard. And yet it's still an absolute value. My daughter is much more SI like fond than I am as an ESTP. She is not very good at the physical part of it. I wouldn't say, but she's also a lot more attentive to it than you'd think. Like, she's always talking about having a headache, feeling nauseous or whatever. And additionally, she places a lot of value in the relationships that she's had before, the past and stuff. She's not gonna jettison somebody from her past and replace them with somebody new or whatever. But additionally, she's ignoring SI. When she was born, they wouldn't let us out of the hospital because she wouldn't go pee until finally more experienced nurse came on and held her little legs under some warm water, and then she finally peed, and we could go home. But we had to stay because she wouldn't pee. I don't think Bronny is a professional level player. I don't think he's that good.
I think that this past season actually really showed that.
Yeah.
It was really upsetting. Like,
I mean, the USC team underperformed so horribly this year. I don't even know what to say about it. And in fact, it cost us our coach, Andy Infield. It was a disastrous season where we got a bunch of purported stars, including the number one recruit in the country, LeBron James's kid, Dennis Rodman's kid, and we had our very good point guard coming back, Boogie Ellis, and the team just absolutely tanked.
Oh my god, they were terrible. Do you think that's like a good example of nepotism?
Well, the Lakers may have drafted Bronny in order to get LeBron to stay with the team.
Oh.
They want LeBron for a couple more years, and so LeBron wants to play with his son on the same team. If you want to keep LeBron and have him not go to another team, you better make that happen.
See, that's still...
So therefore, yes, it's nepotism, sort of. In other words, nobody can stay on a professional basketball team long term unless their skills make it such that they're good enough to be on that team.
So there's a chance that Bronny could be...
I mean, he won't survive the retirement of his father, probably, right?
No, I mean,
he won't be productive enough to be employed in the professional league, except as, well, I agree it's a dumb decision on all grounds, but I would say if there's any sort of bullshit going on, it's that, not the NBA doesn't care if Bronny James is any good because he's got a lot of marketing potential or something. People earn their stardom with success, not the other way around. What happens when a white hole encounters a black hole? Well, they never see each other. They're always facing back to back, right? They're standing back to back facing the other direction. Falta. I would not blame them for calling a foul on that one, because that red player, he just hurtled right into that guy. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up now. I want to thank you all for being here. You're wonderful, wonderful people. If you feel like it, go ahead and like this video, and maybe even, subscribe to the channel. Are the Kardashians a success? Yeah, they're much more successful than me. Everybody knows who they are. Hardly anybody knows who I am. Whose NI is better, ENTP or INFP? ENTP. 6-slot NI is countervalued. They don't like NI very much. Technically, it's nepotism. However, no NBA team will drop a bum off the street regardless of the name. So technically, Bronny has talent. Peace. Yeah, he's got some talent. I just think he's quite talented enough to play in the NBA. Goodbye, everybody. We love you so much. Don't forget, you are loved.